A very good morning, Dave.
Morning, guys. How are we today?
It's been a long time coming for the Repco Bathurst 1000, and for these campers, there's no better way to celebrate than coming together and bonding once again over their passion for motorsport. And how's their setup? You've got a TV to watch the race, you can walk over to the track and see the action, stroll back, light the fire pit, and relax into the supercars spirit. Bliss. Cairn Pole Corner has got to be one of the best campsites. Chika, how long have you guys all been here?
We've been coming, this will be my 17th.
Yep.
We've got a 21st.
21st. Well, what,
in his 30s.
34 years, Chris.
See, with the lockdown, so being from Melbourne, couldn't get back up here. Well, no one was up here for that matter. But yeah, it's good. You come back. We haven't seen a lot of people up here for 2 years, and it's like we never left.
Mary, tell me about the spirit of what it's like up here.
I like it. We drove from Sydney yesterday, or from Newcastle, coming through Sydney, you come through the mountain, and you just see that sign, and you start weeping, you really do. And it's like, I'm going to be here for 10 days, and I'm going to love every day.
Now, you've got one of the best spots. Tell me, what's your best memory of being here? What action have you seen up the top here?
I think the best memory would have been the year Rockies, Lowndesy winning.
Massive cheer from the crowd on top of the mountain. This will be a huge outpouring of emotion. 10 years in the waiting. Lowndes and Whincup do it.
You'd miss the birth of your own child for this weekend.
Yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, you do some weird things just so you can be here enjoying what we love, this sport. Yeah, nothing will stop us from coming back.
Are you ready for some quality time in the great outdoors? 4-Wheel Drive Supercentre has you covered. Scan the QR code on screen for a chance to win a super tough Adventure Kings camper trailer valued at over $21,000. Simply explain which campsite you'd visit first in your Kings camper trailer and you'll go straight into the draw to win this ultimate prize. Scan the QR code on screen to enter or visit campertrailerkingscomp.com.au.
And there are the famous campgrounds here at Mount Panorama. They continue to build here on day number 3. It's Armour All qualifying day, a beautiful day outside as well. So welcome you back to our coverage of the Repco Bathurst 1000 here today. And the final race of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. Chris Stubbs and Andy Jones in the commentary box, my co-drivers for the next 60 minutes. Gentlemen, welcome.
Who's the pro and who's the am? That's the question for this.
Definitely the am. This guy, Andy Jones, is the pro.
That's it. What a great show by the TCM cars earlier. Didn't that just set the tone for what we can expect today? We've got so many great categories of racing coming up, plus 2 supercar sessions and qualifying later in the day. But that was a great show by them. Beautiful conditions as well.
Absolutely glorious day here, guys. And you were talking about pro and am and FIA ratings. I think I'm coal rated at the moment, so I'm certainly not platinum or silver or gold. I'm just one of those little things that you don't want to get under the Christmas tree come the 25th of December.
Whatever's after bronze is where I am right now. Hey, an awesome race yesterday. We welcomed back Christopher Mees, who just kept breaking the lap record lap after lap and ultimately would win yesterday's race. He's going to start from the back today. We caught up with him in the paddock earlier.
You love Bathurst. Bit of a mission to get here, but it's great to have you back at the mountain. You're looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be back. Finally, I'm officially allowed to be on track as well. So I'm really looking forward to be on track for the first time today.
Double duties for you, TCR and, of course, the Audi and GT. We know how great you are with that, but they're diametrically different, aren't they, Christopher?
Yeah, it's actually most likely a new car for me. I have done the development of the car, but this was 2015, so since then I've never driven the car again, and it will be a big challenge anyway. Already it was a big challenge before, but still I had some practice and qualifying sessions planned. This is obviously all gone now, so I jumped straight into race 2. A bit of a shark tank out there, and I just tried to not crash and be safe.
You've got great results here when it comes to the Bathurst 12-hour and GT competition, and I mean, it was a no-brainer for you to come back. You wanted to be here, didn't you?
Yeah, we tried everything to come here, and then honestly, it worked quite late with the visa, but it worked. I was quite happy about it, so I came here, and just on the way here, I got the notification that it's probably a 3-day quarantine for me. So, but still, I'm happy to be here. Great to be back in Australia. As you know, I love being here, so we're looking forward to the race now.
Big weekend. Enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And double duties for this guy today as well, a former 2-time 12-hour winner, Australian GT champion, and will suit up in the TCR race later on today in the number 75 Audi that Garth Tander drove here back in April. So a big day, but watch for him to carve his way through the field. Yesterday, had a bit of everything.
Sure did, and he was a large part of the reason why Yasser Shahin is our champion for this year in the Pro-Am class. Earlier in the year it was Garth Tander, as you mentioned, who has partnered so successfully in the Ben Motorsport Audi, but yesterday Chris Mees did the job, didn't he? And today, carving through the back, he called it a shark tank, Andy Jones, because we've got all the different classes, our trophy drivers, our AM drivers. So he's got a bit of work to do in terms of navigating his way through the field.
He certainly does. He's a class act, Christopher Mees, and it was interesting. The other note I took out of that, Stubbsy, was, you know, his main aim here is to just not crash, and there'll be people at home going, isn't that a given? But it's amazing, you know, for all the intensity in this, all they're all trying to do is make it as calm as possible.
Here is your grid for race number 2, set on the results of qualifying 2 here on Wednesday. Stephen Grove and Jeffrey Ibrahim on the front row, Liam Talbot and Gary Higgin. Paul Stokell did a great job that car yesterday to win the AM class. So in position number 4 today, Mike Sheargold, James Konduras, Andrew McPherson and Brett Hobson, Brad Schumacher and Michael Bailey in the Aston Martin, back to Mark Sini and Scott Taylor, Mark Griffith, who wrapped up the GT4 championship, Mark Rosser, they've repaired his Audi, and Christopher Mees starting from the back of the field.
Great to see that our guys that were involved in the accident yesterday, Rosser and Konduras, are both out on the grid. Those cars repaired. AJ, we'll talk about that a little more as the race unfolds.
So down to Murray's we go in the rows of 2. Red lights at the top of your screen. They cannot move from position until they've been extinguished. We saw yesterday there was a couple of trigger-happy drivers, but today it looks a lot better. Look behind at the start, away we go, and look at Mees at the back of the field already. 3 positions before we get to turn number 1. But it's going to be Brenton Grove who sweeps across to take the lead as everybody tries to get these Pirelli tyres up to temperature and work their way up Mountain Straight for the first lap here of this 60-minute race.
It really did quickly sort itself out at the front of the field here. Everybody just giving each other enough room to race cleanly, but it was Chris Mees at the back. I was keeping an eye on him. He's passed 5 cars already, and we're only on the approach to turn 2. No doubt he's going to be fast, but this is where it's going to be really tricky for him because such a huge speed difference versus the guys that he would normally be racing against.
We know the speed of the Audi across the top of the mountain as well, very stable and settled across there, so there could be some speed variance for him as he comes across the traffic and weaves his way through the field.
10th position already as he works his way across the top of the mountain on this massive day here at Mount Panorama. Brenton Grove, he is out of here. He knows after yesterday, 2 pit lane penalties, 1 for missing their mandatory by 1 second. They had to come back in, and then for crossing the blend line into the pits, just knocking, what did you call it, the floppy yesterday, the yellow marker coming into pit lane.
It's a technical term, but it is a technical term, yeah. It's literally a yellow floppy, so let's call it as it is.
Yep.
And if we were privileged enough to have your company yesterday for race 1, you would have known that the AM guys that are entered in some of these cars started the race with the pro drivers finishing. Today is the flip side of that. We've got the pro drivers all starting today, and we'll have all the AMs finishing. So that's a real, for me, a tidy up of regulations over the last couple of years to make sure that the same calibre of driver is racing against each other. And I love this early phase when you see the pro guys out there early on in the day before the sun comes up too much. We've got too much track temperature, and these guys will be driving these cars as hard as they can.
He's still putting heat into his tyres as he's up inside the top 10 now. You've got Hobson going with Theo Konduras. They've repaired the Supermarkets entry. He's about to lose this position, maybe 1 more to Ben Porter, who starts in the IMAC entry, car 51, that he joins with Andrew McPherson on regular occasions in the GT World Challenge. So Hobson, who picked up the win in this class yesterday, really has to hope We don't hope. But Brad Schumacher has a DNF today for that championship to go his way.
That's exactly it. The difference at the moment is 18 points. You get 18 points for second, but on count back, the title would still go Schumacher's way. So Hobson at the moment, you can see sitting up in 6th position. Schumacher down in 12th, but it would take a DNF for that title to flip-flop.
So 1.1 seconds already, so we climb the mountain for the second time. Grove, Hackett and Ross, the top three, hand over to Liam Talbot later on this afternoon.
And that was an aggressive move there from Christopher Mees on Ben Porter in the IMAC entry, getting the job done at the cutting, and that's freed him up, and he's got clear track ahead of him across the top of the hill here. So if he had got boxed in behind Benny Porter, he would have lost a lot of time, not a lot of passing opportunity, even in these GT3 cars across the top of the hill. And look how much he's brought that gap down ahead to Brett Hobson.
He's glued to the back of the Nissan in its farewell appearance before he moves into a new car for the 2022 championship. He might just get the job done here and does. Hobson goes, you might as well go, mate. We know you're after the lap record here today. And the Ben Motorsport Park 777 entry is now up into position 6 with 4 minutes into this race.
And that was really smart play by Brett Hobson. You know, in this game and in this category, yeah, I hate to use this, but you got to know when to hold him and you got to know when to fold him. And in this case, you know, that was the safe option for Hobson.
There is the IMAC car of Porter and McPherson. They have collected this year's Motorsport Australia GT Championship amateur title. Tony Quinn put up a great fight throughout the year, but unable to be here this weekend. But we're sure that he'll make a return. He's a busy man, Tony Quinn, a great contributor to motorsport in Australia. And of course now an owner of Triple Eight.
And another racetrack owner as well.
Yes, got a few now.
Recent acquisition of Queensland Raceway up there at Ipswich. As we stay with Hobson and Ben Porter, they moved away from the Lamborghini Huracan into this beautiful Porsche GT3 on the way up Mountain Straight here. So very early stages, a pit stop window to come up with 35 minutes to go. It's a 10-minute window. We've got the additional times added. You finished 1, 2 and 3 in your class yesterday. You get additional time to your 100-second mandatory pit stop time. And hopefully, if we don't get any safety car periods, it will really build the drama for the second half of the race.
And the idea behind that is, for anybody at home just tuning in for the first time to watch this category, is to try and stagger the race, the overall length of the race, to try and ultimately have the whole field cross the line at the same time. Ultimately would be the best result. It doesn't ever work out that way because you can't factor in racing and passing and you're losing time here and there. But we do end up quite regularly in Australian GT seeing cars that are faster, hunting down cars that are slower towards the end of the race, and we get this real grandstand finish. And it's just part of balancing out the balance of performance. It can be done via an engine restrictor, can be done by tuning down the RPM, it can be done by tuning up how long you stay in the pit lane. So there's a whole raft, there's a flow chart that I'm not smart enough to be able to go through, but Stubbsy...
That's why we got Stubbsy, yeah.
You're very handy on that front, but ultimately what we're trying to do is see an absolute grandstand finish.
And we saw that play out pretty well yesterday as Christopher Mees flew home chasing Fraser Ross, and he was catching him so quickly, a second a lap. But the margin that Ross had out in front after a great first stint from Liam Talbot meant we didn't quite know if he was going to catch him. That's the whole excitement of this category and the way that those performance measures play into it.
And I talk about, you know, in-race strategy going on and things that we can't control impacting on the end result. You know, Chris Mees at one point was only taking half a second to a second out of the leaders. And then when he was clear of traffic, or sorry, that's when he was in traffic, as soon as he cleared the traffic, he was taking 2.5 seconds a lap sometimes. So, you know, it's those factors that I love watching in this style of racing and seeing the strategy play out and where you are aggressive and where you're not aggressive. And we're just watching Chris Mees there trying to make his way around Garth Walden, and he's had a couple of looks. He looked at Murray's corner, he looked at turn 1, he's looked at turn 2, and he cannot get past Garth Walden. So the read for me out of all of this is the back half of the field. We always knew he was going to be able to make his way past people really quickly, but now you look, he's nearly spent a whole lap behind Garth Walden here. and he's searching hard, knowing that the Audi makes so much speed on the Mercedes across the top of the hill that this is really where he's got to get his job done, but it comes with a lot of risk.
And as discussed by Matt a few moments ago, in the back of his mind, he knows he's got the 15-second additional success penalty from winning yesterday's race. So Mies needs to get himself as far in advance of the rest of the field as possible when he gives up that 15. He has a bit of a look inside at Forrest's elbow, but we'll check out the straight line speed of the Merc AMG, the Audi R8.
You can tell it's affected the lap time for Mies already. He had green boxes on the previous lap.
Does this bring back any memories from yesterday, guys? We saw these two cars collide into each other. It was behind the wheel at that time, Mark Rosser into the back of Honduras. That's Roberto Merri, though, in the car at the moment, in the blue car. AJ, you've been up there and found out the damage bill from that crash yesterday.
And it happened right here in exactly this position where we had the 17 following the Honduras entry ahead. The 17 made front contact with the rear of the Honduras brothers entry. There was some repairs done to the 17 entry of Rosser and Merri. They replaced a front splitter, a radiator, a headlight, and the bill for that repair job, boys, a cool 50,000 got paid over approximately. The Honduras car, though, needed a new rear diffuser on it. The actual crash bar on the back of the car, they used the one, it stayed on from yesterday, so it's pretty much aesthetic parts that went on to the Honduras car, around about 35 odd grand to repair that one. So sorry to roll those numbers out so early to anybody at home listening. They are big dollar numbers, but it's the game, and these cars are beautiful, and anytime you see carbon shards flying around, pretty much equals cash.
This is what AJ's referring to. This was lap 1 yesterday in this race, and Rosser getting to the back of James Honduras. And that's how you tear up $50,000 just like that on one of these cars. A brand new Audi that was shipped out from Germany in July. Limited testing before it arrived here for the final round of the GT World Challenge.
And this is just a, I say a small error. Sorry, Stubbsy.
Big news. Sorry to cut in over the top here. The 888 car of Peter Hackett. That's at the top of McPhillamy Park, facing the wrong direction.
And that's parked heavy into the wall there. Speeds across the top of the hill in these GT cars are incredibly high, well up in the 200km/h mark. So that impact, boys, is going to be really heavy regardless of where he is on the track over there. So we can see Peter moving around and getting outside of the car, which is always great to see. He is the pro in this entry. The rear of the car has gone around, and that is Liam Talbot's entry and Fraser Ross in the car behind. So not sure if there was any contact there. There was a big gap between them, and I have to think no. It looked like the rear of the car was going around, but man, that's a lot of damage to the front right of that Mercedes before he even makes contact. So here we go. So he has lost the rear, and he's had what we call in the game a tank slapper that he hasn't been able to keep hold of. It's made light contact with the wall, but it's when he comes across the other side here, the car wants to dig into the dirt a little bit. Well, actually, it's quite heavy contact when we see it in that view. The right front corner's missing. And then when he goes into this concrete wall here, that's a hard lick of the Pertec sign.
Solomon Park, 220km/h. McPhillamy Park, around 220km/h. So it's high speed through there in 5th gear. And that's a real shame because he was absolutely honoured to be able to be given the opportunity to drive in the 888 car and help Prince Jeffrey, who was still in championship contention as we entered this round. There's been a continual evolution of drivers in this car with Prince Jeffrey, Matt.
I saw that he came in really hot across the top there. I was suggesting for a second maybe there was a tyre let go there, but it was coming in at an odd angle to begin with.
It just looked like the rear of the car got loose for me. It could be either. It's a bit hard to tell for me, Nolts, to be honest, but you're right. Your situation could be one scenario. Whatever it was the back of the car was dancing around. Peter was trying to catch it, wasn't able to, and that long shot that we saw there was where it dragged the right front down the wall. Rusty?
I'm with Prince Jeffrey. You've just been chatting with Matty Cook here. What do you know?
Well, from what I saw, I think the car got a bit loose there and hit the wall already, so we don't know whether just lost control or hit an oil out there, so we really don't know what's happening, so we couldn't get contact to Peter, so, but we'll find out after this.
Here we go. Here's the replay.
Yeah, it looked like the front went off and then hit the wall there, and then it just went off, so don't know.
Hard luck. You had such happy memories of Bathurst from earlier in the year. You loved being here, didn't you?
Yeah, I know, and it was today. I really was excited for the race. I really want to push it hard as I could, you know, and try to get a good result today and try to keep second, hopefully in the championship. But hey, these things happen.
Yeah, I know. We've enjoyed having you down under. You've spent a lot of time here with training and so on. You've enjoyed your time in Oz, haven't you?
No, exactly. No, it's been great being here and being back here in Bathurst and with all the crowds here. It's been great. Today it's a bit unfortunate, but this is racing.
Shame. Thank you.
Thanks.
It is a real shame. He's spent 12 months in Australia, advancing himself, working closely with Shane van Gisbergen in particular and the team at 888. His family, they're the royal family of Johor, a part of the Malaysian peninsula, and the whole family absolutely love their motorsport. They love supercars. They've invested and actually own one of the former 888 cars as well, and a real shame. And he's actually had a security decal with him as well when he arrived here, so that's the standing and immensely popular royal family in Johor. So that's a huge disappointment. A race win here earlier in the year. As we're saying, he's had the transition. Jamie Whincup was with him. Shane van Gisbergen has been with him. Brock Feeney has been with him for various reasons throughout the year. But he won't take fond memories away from this trip to Bathurst, but he can say he's conquered the mountain earlier in the year.
And a great collaboration between the two as well, 888 and the Johor team, which are going to expand into Asia. This started back in 2019, and obviously with what's going on the last 2 years, it's made it a bit restricted to get up there. But they will be a powerhouse team when GT World Challenge Asia kicks off again very soon. We're watching our officials up the top there. We saw the cars coming through before. What they're going to be careful about here too, and you can back me up more with this, AJ, is the carbon fibre shards up there now.
Absolutely, because when you see carbon splintering like exactly on cue here on our screen, it is a bit like little bits of glass around the place. They have really sharp edges. It's incredibly strong, and if you drive across that, the Pirelli tyre is a really good GT tyre, but it's not going to cop basically driving across a whole heap of razor blades. I was watching that replay that we saw as well while we heard from Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, and big thing I noticed watching intently rather than talking and watching was that it looked like Pete Hackett was actually losing the rear. If you watch there, he's already got it. Well, it was even a little bit earlier than that on the previous replay that the rear was gone on turn-in, and then he was catching it across the apex of the corner. So for me, my read, and I would say he's tipped the car in, which is exactly what he's meant to do there. Release the brake, you've got to flow the car and carry, as you said, Stubbsy, 220 odd kilometres an hour across the face of the corner. And sometimes when you do that, that big rear wing there, if the air's not on it properly or you just carry a little bit too much speed, it's that point there. He's already got the slide going, and you can see how long it's going for, and he's going, I've got it, and then all of a sudden, I don't got it, and then it's going to the right, and we're in the fence, unfortunately, and it happens that quickly, and man, I feel bad for him. It's disappointing. So, Rusty, you've got another update for us, doing a ripper job down there.
Jonesy, thank you. I've wandered up to Kelly Grove Racing with the team owner. We're actually back in the paddock area because they're warming the supercars up. A quick report card on yesterday when we caught up. We were a bit disappointed about the penalty, but perhaps fortunate not to get a second one.
Yeah, we're lucky. It was very, very close on it was really borderline, so we never got a second penalty, so that was good. Brent's done well this morning, pushed on. Safety car strategically is not going to help us. We needed that gap. You know, Mees are coming and a few of the others are coming, so we'll just put our heads down and see how we go.
Really good crew of people here. You guys have raced abroad before. What did you talk about overnight coming into this GT race today?
Well, it's just important that Brent got a good start. We've got to try and build a gap where we can. I mean, Christopher Mees is a superstar, so we knew he was going to come through. And Brent just needed to get a big enough gap to hand the car over to me, hopefully to keep that gap. But yeah, we're going okay.
Cool. I know, final one for you. I know that's the principal focus for now in the weekend for you, but lots of fans are tuning in today for supercar practice and obviously qualifying later today. How did both your cars walk out of Thursday?
Yeah, listen, we're really happy with the cars. The late red flag yesterday, we were both cars on a really good lap, so we're quite happy where the cars are. We got really good crew of guys here, and we got 2 sets of really good drivers. So we're in the mix, we hope. So we'll push on and see how we go.
Have a great Friday.
Thank you.
What a beautiful car they have entered the Groves. It was the first of this new generation of Porsche to arrive in the country, and it's created a lot of fanfare. It's been turned out beautifully as well.
So the BP Ultimate Safety Car out on the track here with still 42.5 minutes to go, and about 7 minutes before the pit stop window opens. You know, while we're racing here this weekend, the Ashes are not too far away. In fact, next Wednesday, you can catch it all in stunning ultra-high def on Fox Cricket. It is the best seat in the house.
What's Fox Cricket got that no one else has? Okay, how's this? The Flying Fox? Yep. 4K Ultra HD, best pictures ever. Fox Hero Cam, Isha. Frame-by-frame ball tracking over live pics. Live player tracking, No ad breaks during play, meaning really cool stuff at the end of every over. Virtual Reality Lab. Access all areas every time you wish. Live coin toss, 90 minutes of dead set gold before play. The big break karaoke. The Ashes. Every moment. Live on Fox Cricket.
Cricket and summer just go hand in hand, but when it's the Ashes, it just seems to go up another level, and we cannot wait for that to kick off next Wednesday on Fox Cricket in beautiful ultra high def. Can't wait for that as we're still under the BP Ultimate Safety Car on a massive day here at this famous place, Mount Panorama. We started here on Tuesday with practice and qualifying, and you can feel the momentum starting to build, but this is really the big day of the year, isn't it?
Sure, as we see Brenton Grove there. I just heard from his father, Stephen. Brenton doing a great job in qualifying, putting this car on pole position. This plays to the hand of Christopher Mees in some ways, doesn't it? Bunches the gaps up, and he's done such a great job already to work himself from the rear of the grid up to 5th position, but now he's within striking distance of the lead.
And you're absolutely right, Stubbsy. That playing into the hands of Christopher Mees is in the way of a reset period, let's call it, because we look at the total race distance for Australian GT, that 1 hour of racing. The boys at the front, Brenton Grove, Fraser Ross, Paul Stokel, they were all effectively making hay while the sun was shining early on there. Chris Mees was bunched up behind the likes of Gus Walden for quite a while, and while that was happening, the boys at the front were making time on him, and now that this safety car has come out, it's gone reset. All that time and effort that you've put in, guys, to make a gap is all gone. So you're right, this has played into the hands of Chris Mees, but it hasn't played into the hands of the likes of Brenton and Steve Grove, unfortunately. But what it has done for us, we love a bunch up, and one thing that always happens in motorsport, regardless of the category, is safety cars produce really good racing.
It's also brought the coin spot Audi back into contention as well after racing really hard yesterday with Christopher Mees before the German ultimately would get the win. There's Scotty Taylor heading down the mountain in car 222. So we begin to build up the pace again with just under 40 minutes remaining. A series that started at Phillip Island earlier this year, like many of our championships, was put on ice, put on holidays for a few months, and a great field, obviously with some border restrictions. We're a bit down on numbers, but looking forward to a big season next year under this SRO-inspired series, which is global. It will help out with events such as the Bathurst 12-hour and a lot of anticipation with that event returning here to Mount Panorama in 2022.
SRO being the Stefan Rattel organisation, and he's been really pivotal in this category, really going leaps and bounds worldwide, and that's why Australian GT have adopted that model instead of, they were sort of on a hybrid program over the last few years, so it really brings them in line with the global platform, and it allows the likes of Christopher Mees to come out here and jump in these cars very easily off the back of 72 hours of quarantine. He just jumps in and away he goes. So safety car lights are out. The BP Ultimate Safety Car will enter into the pit lane. Race control will come into the hands of Brenton Grove here. He will have to hold prescribed speed. It's typically 80 kilometres an hour until he comes around and sees the green flag, and then he is able to go when he is ready.
And the safety car has changed the timing for our mandatory pit stop. It is now 9:25 to 9:35, so about 6 minutes away.
So you can see the green flags are waving in the background. That allows Brenton to go whenever he's ready. He doesn't have to go at that point.
So back to green flag racing we go here with that lengthy delay. We've lost Peter Hackett and Jeffrey Ibrahim from the race as the drivers weave their way, trying to put some heat back into the tyres. So it's about 5 minutes before the window will open. They work their way up Mountain Straight. Roberto Meri making this a 3 wide. They might get 2 positions. Oh, a bit of bump and grind, bit of feeling between the two as they climb up the straight. And the Spaniard will get 2 spots by the time we get to Griffins.
For those who didn't catch it yesterday, of course, Roberto Meri, Formula 1 driver from 2015 with Mana Marussia. It's great that we've had him here also in S5000. He was at Sydney Motorsport Park. He's been doing a great job picking up speed really quickly, especially in the open wheeler, of course.
Yeah, he was amazing to watch there, going wheel to wheel with our guys, a different animal to what he's used to been driving overseas in his career. Ben Porter behind Roberto Meri now, so Meri goes up into 7th outright and 4th in the pro class. We work our way across McPhillamy Park. Just under 37 minutes to go. I was going to say he was going wide then, and Porter has got the wall this time. He was just off the line by maybe 2 feet, and that was enough to put the IMAC Porsche in the wall. And this will produce another safety car.
What did you say, AJ?
Safety cars, they produce really good racing, but then in brackets, I should have said, and they usually produce a couple more safety cars.
I was going to say, that's not the fridge magnet I've got to make. And Honduras is caught up as well for the 2nd time in 2 days. You can see that coming across the top. You know it better than I do. You just only need to be off by a foot or 2, and you'll find that wall on the outside.
And you've called it perfectly, Nolts. You know, that was brewing all the way up Mountain Straight, all the way through turn 2. Your read of the play was exactly right. These guys, you know, they were racing hard, and that's what we want to see. But, you know, at some point, you've got to be able to go, okay, I'm in or I'm out. And unfortunately for here, Benny Porter, he was just pushing on a little bit too hard, so he's a bit wide on the entry. You see he's out on that dirty stuff, and the line through there is so narrow that he's out towards the fence. That bit's okay, but it's, you know, it's really tricky for us at home to be able to explain this, but if you don't turn that steering wheel enough, you don't get to the apex. But when you're out on that dirty stuff, you can't actually turn the steering wheel too much because you're going to lose the rear, and that's exactly what's happened to Ben Porter. And when you lose the rear like that, you become a passenger, you scrape the SwiftX wall, and then you make hard contact on the inside. But the person I feel the most sorry for here is the Honduras entry, because, you know, they had nowhere to go, and unfortunately that's 2 days in a row where they've damaged their car.
James involved in the one yesterday, Theo behind the wheel. Now, he did a good job initially, because quite often you can follow the car in front, can't you? And you can tend to follow them and drift wide and end in the wall yourself. We've seen that multiple times across the top of the mountain over the years. So he kept his line well and wasn't thrown off by the drifting Porter, but just had nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go. Yep, we hear it all the time. So you see how wide Ben Porter was there. He was already in trouble, and he was going around. He was going to make contact with that inside fence, but unfortunately drove across the front of Honduras entry and has wiped the splitter off the front of that Audi.
Honduras, absolutely nowhere to go in that Superman Supermarkets entry. There is Ben Porter, former multi-time Australian Formula V champion of this country, and spent some time over in Asia in the Blancpain series, where they picked up some wins at some famous tracks like Sepang and Fuji. But now he jumps into the Team Medical Australia car and heads back into the pits, and for the 2nd time, the safety car is out here in the final race of the 2021 Fanatec GT World Challenge.
He's a very highly credentialed driver trainer as well, Ben Porter. He does a lot of stuff for car manufacturers around the country most days of the week, and does a bit of personal training as well, driver training that is, for you know, for some of the AM guys. So he is very handy behind the wheel of a race car and a road car. But unfortunately, when the mountain bites, we hear it all the time, don't we? It bites really, really hard, regardless of what your credentials give you.
Theo Honduras, a veteran of GT, a 2-time class winner at the Bathurst 12-hour. The GM of Superman Supermarkets. They were here for Challenge Bathurst recently to get themselves up to speed. Let's get down to Rusty.
Stubbsy, I've just had a word to Ben Porter's crew. They are question marking whether he may have had a little bit of contact, possibly going up Mountain Straight, that has triggered a slow deflation. Now, they're not sure about that. They know that he's okay. Obviously, you guys have seen that on the coverage, but they have just question marked that a minute ago, and whether that may have ultimately contributed to what happened with a slow deflation. Let's go down here, because I think I spotted Yasser Shahin. A little bit of a walk here. Come with me, folks, here in pit lane. S5000 cars. It is awesome at the mountain this weekend, particularly when you've got in GT some of the coolest cars you'll ever see, from Audis to Mercedes and much, much more. Here's Yasser Shahin, who had a pretty good day yesterday. Can we have a quick chat? You're in? You're in? Okay, well, we're gonna nothing like live television, is it? So I got the usher away from Melbourne Performance, who do a good job. Here's John Martin, who's an interested onlooker and someone who's got a lot of experience in motor racing in this country. You're gearing up for S5000 and TCR?
Yeah, it's all getting ready for S5000 as soon as these GT guys get done.
Are you looking on with a little bit of interest here, more than just a passing interest?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Liam's about to jump in his car, so it's sort of supporting him a little bit, and just obviously been in the GT paddock before, so it's just interesting to see how they're all getting on.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for talking to us. Good luck today in the Honda, incidentally, too, in the TCR race, which is coming up a little bit later. So Yasser is here. Who else have we got on standby? We're going to get ushered here because we'll get our cameraman just to spin around at the front of the car. We don't want to get in trouble here, guys. Car controller Eric Pender. For those of you that know your motorsport, here is among the many experienced faces that we have in our pit lane, and Melbourne Performance has several of them. Brett Bull, who has worked with Tony Longhurst in the past, has just walked beyond us. Eric, of course, famously worked with Greg Murphy during the Kmart racing era when we had the Lap of the Gods and more. So some in the Melbourne Performance camp, they bring in addition to their own full-time staff, some extra hands, but with a lot of experience. We'll go back to you guys and we'll cover. Here we go. So you guys call it, and I'll pick up something if we've got any little surprises here. Here we go.
So clearly our pit window is now open for the mandatory pit stop. As you heard from Greg Rust there, the walking encyclopedia / floor manager, directing the cameras around and keeping us entertained while this one is underway. So our pro drivers will now step out for those in the Pro-Am category, and the amateurs will come in. So in will step Stephen Grove. You can see him on screen there. You're allowed to have 2 mechanics and a car controller. And the car controller cannot touch the car, the driver assistant, if you need one. But as we saw yesterday, there's plenty of time. There's no rush. It's very different to what we see with the supercars.
And I made the point earlier, Stubbsy, about the items in the race that you have no control over but end up affecting the race result. This is absolutely one of them, right? So the field is under safety car. We expect everybody to come in. We know that they've all got different times that they've got to stop for based on their driver ability or race wins yesterday. But all that goes out the window, mate, because it's all being done under safety car. So in a minute, they're going to all roll out, having done everything they needed to under the regulations, and then reset under safety car. So this is going to give us this really tight battle, but we're not going to see guys running people down. But we will see the likes of Chris Meads here drop down the field a bit, because he will have to stay in the pit lane a little longer.
And the poor BT Ultimate safety car is the only car on the circuit right now with the entire field in. It will make the track quiet for a bit. We'll mix up the field before we go back to green flag racing too.
And the driver of the BP Ultimate safety car is looking in the mirror at the moment going, hang on a sec, where's everyone gone?
They're somewhere.
Hello.
So here they go, and this is going to play into the hands now of the guys that did have those extra seconds on there, but what's going to produce is some of the guys that run the mid-pack will be at the pointy end for a moment anyway. Out comes Grove. So he'll chase now the BP Ultimate safety car. And we shouldn't be too far away from going back to a restart. 2 safety car periods, if you just joined our coverage now. First one for Peter Hackett earlier this morning, where the 888 Mercedes found the wall at the top, and as we went back to a restart, Ben Porter finding the wall probably about 50 metres back from where the 888 car did. And hence why we're under safety car, which is under 29 minutes to go.
Liam Talbot in 3rd position on the track in the coin spot entry. Such balance between the 2 drivers of that car is there. There's really no clear pro and am in the combination. There's Roberto Merri, as we said, the former Formula 1 driver on screen, but it really works well for Liam Talbot, who's had great pace this weekend and got the pole in qualifying 1.
Absolutely, and that's where this race is now flipped on its head a little bit, and we'll do our best to try and explain it, and that is that if it went green all the way through, Chris Meads was going to motor through the field, make inroads, and then hand over to Yasser Shahin, who has done a brilliant job all year. But now that we've got this reset, let's call it, Shahin is in the car. He's dropped back down the field a little bit, so he's going to have to make his way through the field. So, yeah, lots going on here. Rusty, you've got some more brilliance down there in the pit lane for us?
Well, not from me, but from our international guest. How mighty has he been behind the wheel? How was the stint? And we we were hoping, I guess, for no interruption from a safety car point of view with all that good work.
Yeah, I would have liked to do a bit more laps, obviously, but still we had a good start going up to P6 or P5, so it was good fun. Good battles out there. Would have loved to do a bit more racing, but in the end, yeah, I hope everyone is fine who crashed up there. Hope they're all good and safe.
How about you? You come here, can't make practice and qualifying because you're doing all the right things from an isolation standpoint, and you go out and boom, record pace straight away. You love this joint, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, thanks to the boys, they gave me a good car. I immediately felt yesterday in the outlap that the car soaked up. It was fantastic to drive, one of my top 3 cars I've driven here in the past. So it was really good and actually quite easy to get up to pace. And thanks to them, they made my life quite easy.
Cool. 2 quick questions to finish. What's the message to Yasser and what he's got to do from here?
Well, push on. I mean, he's champion now, so he can relax, he can have fun, just push as hard as he wants, and hopefully we can get another podium.
Hey, and we are looking forward to you jumping behind the wheel of the TCR car too. Can we expect something good there?
Well, it's my first time driving that car, basically, so it's going to be interesting. I'm going to use the first race as a practice, probably the third or my second race as a proper race then. So it's going to be interesting. I'm excited, but don't expect me to win that one.
Okay, cool to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's going to be exciting to watch, that's for sure. Christopher Mees walking away. We just saw a quick shot of Roberto Meri in the background. He's getting suited up for the Shannon's S5000 race, which follows this one. And the good news, boys, the lights are about to go out.
Chris Mees would have me in stitches. That English-German accent is brilliant.
It's great.
How is it? What's his job here? Push on.
So here's what they were suggesting may have happened to the iMac Porsche here. So bump there, just light enough.
It did look pretty side on, you know, wheel to wheel.
It's hard to see.
It does look like there's plenty of air in both of those tyres, doesn't it, at that point? You know, the sidewall, particularly on the big rear Pirelli, would give us a really clear indication of it being flat. So it's a great pick up there from our cameraman to be able to give us those shots. I don't know, guys, my read on it, and that's what I'm here for, is to give you a read, is that the contact up Mountain Straight looked wheel to wheel. It's usually when you get a bit of overlap that you get a cut tyre. So I think it's lost rear from pushing on.
So it's Stephen Grove who will lead us away from Mark Sini and Liam Talbot. You can see the green flags. We've just had one restart, so we know the procedure well. It will be Stephen Grove who can pick the time when he puts the foot down as we head around into Murray's corner to get this race underway after our second safety car period. And away we go.
Same car, different driver behind the wheel now as the Grove Porsche leads us back with 25 minutes to go in the final race of this year's GT World Challenge. Already, Liam Talbot making a move on Mark Sini to go up into second spot. Mark Rosser just behind him, who's now behind the wheel of his usual car 17. And look at Yasser Shaheen. This is almost a carbon copy of the last restart. In the middle of all of this is Michael Bailey in the Aston Martin. And Shaheen with nowhere to go at the moment. We'll tuck back in behind the Porsche and the Aston Martin as they climb towards Griffins on this restart lap.
And it's Bailey that was super strong in the braking zone at turn 2 to sweep around both Taylor and Shaheen. And now Yasser has got around Scotty Taylor there, so he's done a brilliant job. He's taken Brent Hobson with him. These guys are absolutely hot here, but it's Yasser Shaheen. He's done a ripper job. How good was Liam Talbot? Super aggressive into turn 1 there to slot into second position. He's got eyes forward for Stephen Grove.
The speed of Bailey here that we see on screen now, that's not the car that he entered this weekend either, so that's an outstanding job for him to be able to turn that around.
He'll be benefiting though, won't he, guys, because he's one driver in that car. He has done the first phase of this race. He stayed in during that pit stop cycle, and he is having a little bit of a run here against those guys that have just got in. They're starting to reset their brake markers, and these are some of the intricacies of dual drivers sharing a car in a race like this.
See how awkward the cars were on the restart, trying to get the temperature into the tyres, particularly through the first turn as they settle in. And down Conrod Straight we go with 23 minutes roughly of this race still remaining. Here's Hobson going with Shaheen side by side. Nissan versus Audi as they go to the Hino Bridge and towards the chase. As close as you like. Watch this for side by side. The GTR sweeps across.
Forced the issue there, didn't he? Left absolutely no room for Shaheen. It looks like for a moment he would be pushed off track. So aggressive driving for Hobson, and that's his style. He got it done, had the straight line speed in the GTR. got that done. He's now having a look up on Bailey as well.
Massive commitment from Yasser Shahin, though. He dropped the left side tyres on the run-up mountain straight out in the dirt, and then the opposite side of the circuit coming down Conrod, he had, same side, left side back out in the dirt again on the approach to the King down Conrod.
So Yasser gets it done on Bailey and moves himself up into 6th position. Still Stephen Grove at the front of the field, but behind him, Liam Talbot is having a look. So we're heading to Griffin's Bend. There's the onboard riding now with Stephen Grove. You can see Talbot looking, hunting for a position on the kink, heading into the cutting.
Long way to play out us now. Oh, sweeps across. That was close at the cutting. And Talbot wants to get to the lead quickly here with 22 minutes remaining. We both put our hands over our eyes then. There could have been a bit of contact there.
And in terms of amateur drivers in this series, or AM, let's call them, both Stephen Grove and Liam Talbot have done a lot of international racing. Big events, long racing. Oh, that is always brave around the outside. Brett Hobson has made it stick, though, around the outside of Sini. Good commitment. Great racing by both drivers, and Mark Sini there giving Brett enough room. Good spatial awareness. But he is backing up Yasser now. Back to the point about Stephen Grove and Liam Talbot. They've raced in so many 24-hour races internationally that this will be a great battle at the front of the field. Stephen won't be easy to get past.
Shahin now having a look and gets it done easy on Sini. It gives him plenty of racing room to get that one done at Forest's elbow. So Shahin gets another position. He's up into 4th place, our champion, as he was crowned yesterday, the Motorsport Australia GT Championship Pro-Am winner.
Meantime, back in the front through the chase. Talbot closer than ever, now looking to make the move on the Grove Porsche and gets it done in the chase. So a new leader with under 21 minutes remaining. There's a very happy partner down in the pits as well, Charlie Robinson, as her man goes back into the lead of the race. But a long way to play out in this one.
That was a big move from Talbot down there. You could see he jumped on the brake really hard. Here we go. Bailey doing something similar. Wow, he's on the extreme inside out on the dirt there while trying to slow the car up. Not a lot of grip when you're on that sort of light brown coloured dirty stuff, and you can see there when Bailey got to the apex, he had to turn the steering wheel really hard. The car understeered and he wasn't able to get it round the corner. It allowed Rosser to get the job done and get back past him.
That was Mark Griffith coming into the pits, incidentally, too. Pit stop windows officially close. He has done his mandatory stop anyway, so clearly another drama.
Yeah, stop and go for him.
Gotcha.
So actually a short stopping. So how's that? Under safety car and short stopping.
Yeah, it'll be a procedural error, won't it? You know, they'll have, typically they have a car controller at the front of the car. I believe Mark Griffith, that is in that car on his own, but they've obviously just mistimed it somewhere or got the wrong time. So here's a replay of that move I was talking about. Liam Talbot, this is for the race lead. For me, my read is you could see both guys jumped on the brake at a similar time, but Liam just released that brake right about the same time that Charlie clenched her fists and hoped that he was going to get the job done. So that was a nice move.
Charlie had the presence of mind to put the phone down today for that moment. This was a bit of contact further back with Rosser on Sini, so hasn't been the happiest of corners for that Patan Audi in the last 2 days. As now looking to ride to the seat. And you know why Brett Hobson's trying to go here? He's trying to wrap this up and hope Brad Schumacher has a DNF to wrap up the series in the trophy class. Great shot. Watch the Nissan come out from behind. This is going to be awesome side-by-side action down towards the chase. And Hobson gets it done.
How good is the onboard cool. Riding on the Porsche and watching the big GTR just stalking down Conrod Straight and getting the job done.
And the smiles are reducing in the Grove garage, unfortunately, with every car that goes past. That onboard that you talked about was brilliant, but how good was Brett Hobson knowing how long the nose was on that car, because there was not a lot of room between the front of his Nissan and the back of that beautiful Porsche.
He's on a charge. So this is the other man in the 55 there, Brad Schumacher, who just needs to finish where he is right now and he'll win the GT3 Trophy Series for 2021. Hobson, as Matt touched on, needs to win the race and have Schumacher have a DNF, and that title would become his. We'll have another look at it, AJ.
So Hobson in the Nissan behind there, just utilising that slipstream that is being given off by that big Porsche, pulls out of the slipstream, down to the inside, actually got the job done before they even got to the kink. Both cars are flat, full throttle to the floor at that approach. This was the one I was talking about. That shot looked really, really cool.
Yeah.
And Brenton just slicks the hair back and goes, that's P3. Let's hope we can hold that.
Well, they're about 3 seconds back to Yasser Shahin, who's up into 4th position now. So you're back to Rosser and Bailey. I mentioned your point before, they started the weekend with the Bentley on Tuesday, but that had issues which ultimately saw the car on the fence. They brought the Aston Martin up from Victoria, arrived here at 3 a.m. the next morning. He's really loving his day out here today. He's running in 6th position outright now and 2nd in the trophy class. It's down to the Toyota Gazoo Dipper we go. Brad Schumacher just behind this duo of cars just ahead, and his home track, literally his base, is behind Hell Corner here. So not too far away for the Kelso Electrical sponsored newest spec Audi he's debuting this weekend.
And it is well within the regulations that even though Bailey entered that beautiful Bentley, they are able to change cars. So much carbon on these vehicles that if you have a big accident, then the repairability is not that great. So pretty cool to have an Aston Martin as your spare car when you crash your Bentley. I went and had a look at that Bentley. There was a lot of damage. It's down in the Park from A area out the back, pretty much just where the cars have come into the braking zone at Murray's Corner there. And amazing bit of kit. Such a big platform. You know, we look at the Nissan GTR and we talk about Brett Hobson's car here that's on screen, and it looks big compared to the Audis and the Aston Martin, but you know, if we had that Bentley out there, it's bigger again.
The sound of the GTR, you can pick it from a mile away, that throaty roar. It's become quite iconic. Have a look at a change for position. That's Rosser in front, his first time at the mountain.
Michael Bailey is pumped up today, isn't he? Loads of confidence from the Aston Martin.
And he doesn't mind going to the extreme inside to get the job done either. We saw him do something very similar down at Murray's. This point, they're all on the throttle. You can see the gap between the front splitter, and now they're on the brake, particularly Bailey. The front of the car dips down. This time, though, no such issue with his old friend understeer coming to the party and not allowing him to get the job done. This time he was able to make the apex, has enough room on the exit, cracks the throttle, front of the car lifts, and he's able to drive away from Rosser. Very well executed.
Rosser kept it wide, perhaps hoping that maybe he'd overcook it and get the cut back on the inside, but it wasn't to be. So this margin now, the gap is closing. Brett Hobson is on a charge. The gap down to 1.2 seconds. With Liam Talbot in the race lead at the moment, and this is another quick lap. He's gone personal best in Sector 1. As he pursues the lead of this race. As mentioned, a win here and an issue for Schumacher, and he wins the GT3 Trophy Series. A lot to play for Brett Hobson.
I stay away from making those comments like you two because I feel like the commentator's curse is one of those things that'll bob up. And you two guys are giving it a red-hot crack today, aren't you?
Hang on, I've pulled myself back from this.
We don't wish anything bad to happen to Schumacher. He's done a brilliant
selling
job.
The dream. I'm selling the dream that there is still a title on the line.
Absolutely. We play good cop, bad cop in here. You two can be the bad cop, and I'll back him.
Oh, this is a wild moment at a really tight part of the course here through the Gazoo Dipper for Michael Bailey. He's doing his best to make the highlights reel today, isn't he?
We've seen so much of that this weekend across multiple categories where there is a lot of grip out there. In previous years, you see people come out, out to that left. If you lose the rear, you're in the fence, whereas it's almost like the Scandinavian flick has been embraced by multiple people, and they can get it back around the down at the Dipper, which is super cool. I can just picture SVG or Shane Van Gisbergen in the Red Bull garage seeing those shots going, oh yeah, big fan of that.
It's great you mentioned that too, because Bailey's got a massive collection of the old Group B and Group A rally cars from the 80s in his collection down in Victoria, and some of the great names like Francois Delacour, he's got a couple of his cars there. So maybe he's just channeling his Francois Delacour here today in that Aston Martin as Hobson continues to chase this man. Liam Talbot coming down into the Gazoo Dipper. 9:52 plus 1 lap is now the amended time here. So about 7 minutes and a lap of racing to go in the final race of this year's GT World Challenge.
And if you don't think Liam Talbot is driving the wheels off that point spot Audi, did anybody else just notice the paint that he flicked up as he came out of the dipper and went around that right-hander? He used that little, 200, 300 mil curb on the inside, a little bit of paint flicked up. So he is absolutely having a crack behind the wheel of that Audi. Now this is the battle for the final podium position. Stephen Grove at the wheel of the Grove Porsche. Yasser Shahin in the Ben Motorsport Park Audi behind him. He has chased him down, has a little look into the braking zone at the chase. It was a look, it was a long way back, but it just shows or says to me, my read on the body language of the car is Yasser's saying, I'm coming at you, I am going to have a crack. And you mentioned before, Stubbsy, he has wrapped up this championship, but you pull the helmet on, you jump in one of these cars, the competitiveness is always there. Just because you've won the championship doesn't mean that he doesn't want to keep driving it as hard as he can, doesn't want to keep passing as many cars as he can, and doesn't want to get up on that podium. He will absolutely be vying for it. The sweet, sweet sounds of the Porsche and the Audi making their way up Mountain Straight there. Some people like classical, some people like rock, some people like jazz. I could listen to that all day. It is beautiful. Let's have a listen.
Shahin now right up under the rear wing of the Porsche as we head across the mountain. Just a few minutes left to go in this one. This is the fight for the final place on the podium. Can our champion finish it off on a high with a podium position? Yasser stalks the back as we head through McPhillamy. 220 kilometres an hour down through the S's. Into the dipper, there's the onboard. You can see Yasser stalking the back of the Porsche.
Keep in mind, it's also a battle for third outriders now. Shahin gets in, he gets released. Just got the car pulled up down there. It's a really awkward spot to make a pass here at Mount Panorama. The man who wrapped up this year's Pro Class is away from the Grove Porsche. Back at the front, the gap's gone out to 1.2 seconds between Talbot and Hobson. So we work our way down to the final 5 minutes of the Fanatec GT World Challenge. Rusty.
Matt Fraser-Ross has been pacing a little bit. There were some cheers from NPC there a moment ago. I know you boys were a bit upset about the start procedure yesterday, but if we can get this done here, that's a bit of a sweet reply.
Oh yeah, of course. You know, it's our first weekend here in the Coin Spot Audi. It's a nice way to start the debut. I think we were second yesterday. Liam's doing a good job. Obviously, we had some carnage in our race. Really hard to get front tyre temp in the Audi, but you know, the Coin Spot Audi's been great all weekend. Hopefully Liam can bring it home and we can win the round.
Good combo. Nice of you guys to pair up, and it seems for a first up to have worked very well.
Oh, of course. And, you know, the Rocket has been great all weekend. Liam and NPC, the team, and to have the support of Coin Spot. You know, the car looks fantastic. You know, thanks everyone involved, and hopefully we can bring it home and bring some trophies.
Thanks, Fraser.
Cheers. Thank you.
Great combination, aren't they? Hobson tries to manoeuvre past Griffith here. He's just done his pit lane penalty. It's cost him bulk time now for Hobson. I did like the pairing when I saw the entry list come up, seeing Fraser-Ross and Liam Talbot again. They've been great rivals in GT racing for a long time, and a real strong combo in this final round.
And a great performance given their lack of time in Audis. Fraser hasn't driven one, always in a McLaren in GT racing, and Liam hasn't been in one since 2016. So great performance to jump into this car, because the stark difference in our GT cars, we discussed that yesterday, AJ, as opposed to, say, a Mustang into a Commodore in supercars land. These cars are starkly different in the way they make their speed.
Absolutely, they are starkly different, and pretty much the same difference in the cars is in the height difference between the two guys driving this. We just saw Fraser-Ross there. He's about 2 foot taller than Liam Talbot. So even little things like that, trying to make both guys comfortable within this car, comes with a fair bit of work from the NPC guys. But they're being able to do that because both Fraser-Ross and Liam Talbot are fast. So let's have a look at what happened here. Rosser, right rear wheel, just touching the dirt in the braking zone on the approach to turn 1 there. Need to be careful when you're doing that. He's done a good job to catch it, maneuver the car over to the inside rather than let it sort of get on that dirt and head over to the outside. On the dirt, never be a good option. This is a replay of what happened to Brett Hobson, and poor Mark Griffith there. There's not much you can do about it. He's done the right thing in this type of category when you're in a GT4 car. Although it looks super, super fast, there's a huge speed difference, and you know, there's a bit of an unwritten rule between the driver group that when you're in the slower car and you're at a place like that on the track where you can't really get offline, he's driving his car as fast and as hard as he can. If he stays online, it's really up to the guy behind that's got to get the job done safely. It's a bit like snow skiing. You know, you're coming down the mountain and the person behind is the one that all the onus is on to overtake somebody up ahead. What are you laughing at, Matt Nolte?
It's your analogies. They're very good.
Well, but that's true, yeah, and that's what it is. It's the guy coming up in the fast car. He's got to get the job done cleanly, and Brett did a good job of it.
And he said so narrow through there. The blue flags were out, but there's only so much room on the racetrack at some points here, particularly at Mount Panorama.
Well, you can see how dirty offline it was up there as well from that earlier incident on Tuesday with Bailey, so needs to be careful not to crease that car at the same time. Tell you what, Brett Hobson has not given up here. Gaps back to 2 seconds. And about a minute plus 1 lap of racing still to go. So ignore what you see at the top of your screen. It'll be 9:52 plus 1 lap. But Talbot looks in control of this race. He arrived here last weekend. He's jogged the track every day. Get himself reacclimatised with the Mount Panorama course. He's not giving up, is he? You can hear it maxed out there at the final turn as he comes through to complete another lap.
You can also see the attitude from the car, Matt. You watch the back of it squirming around. He is absolutely using all the braking grip that not only the car and the ABS and the Pirellis are giving him. Yeah, he's using all 3 of those combined to absolutely maximise. He's driving fast here for this late in the race because he knows that he's got Hobson coming at him. Both guys, though, best lap in this race, 2:06.22 for Talbot, 2:06.29 for Hobson. So they're both going fast. Although at the moment, Talbot's got a little bit up his sleeve, and I would imagine that's just across the top of the hill with his last lap at a 2:07.0. Hobson took 4/10 out of him, and at this rate, he's not going to be able to catch him. And smart driving from Liam, you can really maximise the car down in the bottom part of the circuit where there's low risk. If you have a mistake, you can catch it. Whereas you see it over the hill here and down towards the grade, he's got enough margin out to the outside there that if he has a little moment, he's got some room to gather it up without making contact.
Can confirm this is the last lap of this race, so we're going time certain. So Liam Talbot with just a couple of corners to go to secure himself a victory. Plenty of nerves in pit lane for the team watching on. What a great combination they have been for the last time into Forest Selbo for the long run down Conrod Straight. Beautifully turned out Audi.
Nervous from one side of the camp to the other. Talbot, of course, wrapped up the Porsche Carrera Cup Pro-Am Championship for Wall Racing a couple of years ago. He's raced globally in GT competition. A great stint from Fraser Ross. He had pressure from Brett Hobson, but the gap went out to 3 seconds in the end. And now with just a handful of turns remaining, he's about to bring this coin spot Audi prepared by Audi Sport Customer Racing Australia to the finish line. The final round and final race of this year's Fanatec GT World Challenge goes to Liam Talbot and Fraser Ross here at Mount Panorama. And Charlie's just a little bit excited down there. Hobson home in second place. Shaheen will get third here. And the fastest lap of the race going to Christopher Mees back there on the 3rd lap of the race at 2:06.04. It'll be the Grove boys back there in 4th position, and Michael Bailey will come home in 6th position because Rosser has got him down in the chase. Bailey's parked down the middle. He's just going to pull the Aston Martin up, but nonetheless, easily his best day out in the GT World Challenge.
Well done. Schumacher crossing the line there in the 55. He claims the GT3 Trophy Series. Celebrations in the lane. for Charlie. And there's the team as well. Great drive, well done by everyone involved. Fraser Ross should be very, very happy. A wave of the hand from Liam Talbot. Outstanding effort.
Really cool. Right to the end, a couple of safety cars early in the race, but promoted a really good result in the end. Talbot and Ross the winners today from Hobson. Shaheen and Mees, of course, Shaheen winning the World Challenge this year. The Grove boys back in fourth. Rosser and Merry home for fifth. Then Bailey Schumacher wins the trophy class for this year ahead of Sini, Sheargold and Walden there. The birthday boys this weekend inside the top 10, back to Taylor Griffith and our DNF guys from earlier in the race and what was a very expensive morning here at Mount Panorama in the Fanatec GT World Challenge.
We have a look at the race highlights. Here is the start, and it was Grove off the front in the Porsche. Brenton doing a good thing, keeping it clean off the start. And this was our first safety car, the 888. Peter Hackett behind the wheel. He said it was a dream to drive for 888. He didn't care if he was fourth in line. After we've had multiple drivers rotate through with Prince Jeffrey, that would put an end to their day. Extensive damage, a high-speed crash. And on the restart, Grove had it done. This was the contact between the IMAC car and Sini. We wondered, was that the cause for this problem? Because this was heavy contact. Sini caught up in behind as the 51 Porsche spins into the wall from one side to the other. Nowhere to go for Sini. Good job in the background to avoid any sort of damage. That was great work by Mike Bailey, but that would bring out our second safety car.
And that would see the pit stop window open as well as we went back to racing. Talbot was quickly down the inside of Sini here. Then went after Grove. This went on for several laps. That was an opportunistic move at the bend there, but ultimately got the pass done down here at the chase. Brett Hobson was tearing his way through the field. This was a great shot, wasn't it, as he made the move past the Grove car.
Yasser Shaheen then looking to finish off the year on a high with a podium. Gets around Stephen Grove at Forest Elbow, but it was Liam Talbot who brought it home for the race win. Excitement for the entire team. A great job. Charlie celebrating, well she should. Liam Talbot, race winner in race 2 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS.
My thanks to Chris Stubbs and to Andrew Jones. That wraps up the championship for this year on Armour All qualifying days. We head to a break. Here's a chance for motoring enthusiasts to win, thanks to our friends at Shannon's.
How would you like to win a 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, one of America's most iconic performance cars, and a new Chief Dark Horse Indian motorcycle, plus up to 12 months Shannon's comprehensive car and bike insurance and Shannon's roadside assist, plus $5,000 cash if you're an eligible Shannon's Club member. That's up to $110,000 in prizes. To enter, go online or call Shannon's on 134646 and obtain an eligible quote on your car, bike or home insurance.
Well, story.